Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. One of the interesting things about November of last year, and one of the really amusing things about Biden's administration, is that mashed potato brains never really had a legislative mandate. He never had a vision. Like, what was his vision? What were people upset about during Trump's presidency, aside from Trump's personality? Throughout over half of Trump's presidency, we had record low unemployment. This is a fact. We had not only record low unemployment, but we had foreign policy success. The Doha Agreement was given to Biden as a gift. All he had to do was simply remove Americans from a never-ending counterinsurgency war started by people like Biden and Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld. That's all he had to do. He could have started evacuating in January, February, March, April of this year. He didn't do so. By the way, to my super chat, I can't do this without you, so I do appreciate your support. If you want to talk about the debt ceiling or anything else via super chat, I would be more than happy to discuss things with you. Thank you so very much to my chat also. And hit subscribe. Tell your friends about this channel. And tell your friends about the Stock Market Crash channel. I will have a segment in like 3 or 4 or 5 hours or so. Subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. In fact, here it is. It is below right here in the chat. I'll put that in the chat right here. I'll talk about this and the crypto hamster, by the way, that is further proof that a stock market crash is coming. We'll get to the crypto hamster a little later, and I'm definitely going to talk about that on the Stock Market Crash channel. But GOP senators block Democratic bill to fund government and suspend debt ceiling. Possible government shutdown looms as Democrats try to advance $3.5 trillion package. What was the reason that Biden won the presidency fair and square, and the most fair and square and fair and most, oh my goodness, the most pristine we've ever seen ever in the history of humanity and all life forms? What did people want him to achieve? Tell me in the comments section or what did people want him to achieve? I don't know. You tell me. Usually when, President Trump won in 2016 over Hillary Clinton, like I said he would. I was one of the few people on the planet, maybe a handful of other people, said that that Trump would win. I said that he would win, and nobody was saying that. And the reason was that was a year where a populist message was important to a lot of people. President Obama's 8 years, were not enough for the majority of Americans. They didn't want a third President Obama term. They could have had a third term, but they were tired of business as usual. They were tired of endless wars, regime changes, interventions. They wanted record low unemployment. They wanted a GDP that increased faster than in years past. They wanted a growing economy. President Trump had manufacturing jobs, hundreds of thousands before last year. President Obama, 200,000 were lost under President Obama's 8 years. So, we can go through. We had record low black and Latino unemployment under Trump. Record low. We had record highs at one point under President Obama. Granted, that was in large part because of 2008, but the record highs still were there in 2011, 2012. Go look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They only started going down in 2013, 2014. And so the question is, when you move from one candidate to another, aside from Trump's personality, What was it that made people vote for Biden? What was it about mashed potato brains? The way he slurred his speech, or the little tidbits of wisdom, like when he put lotion on his leg hairs, and he told cornflakes to take a hike. What was it? Because there was certainly nothing. There was certainly nothing that he offered. There was certainly nothing that he offered people in terms of legislation. He did not. He stated he would veto Medicare for all. He would obviously veto a Green New Deal legislation. He's not going to pack the courts. He's not going to end the filibuster. He reluctantly removed Americans from never-ending wars that he voted for. What was the legislative? What did he bring to the table in terms of legislation? An infrastructure bill? How many times have you heard about an infrastructure bill the past 5 years? You think Democrats were longing to rebuild bridges and roads? This is something that has no energy or political momentum behind it. They are barely, this is something that is like, even Cinema and Manchin are against it. A $3.5 trillion, like we last year, by the way, Eric and Luke, thank you. Shane, hello. Papu Nayasheli, hello. When you look at last year, from in January, and this is important. This is why the crypto hamster is doing better than Warren Buffett. There's a hamster, I think in like Moscow, or where is this crypto hamster? There's an actual little rodent, little hamster, little gerbil hamster. No, a hamster. That is that it's Mr. Gox, the crypto hamster. And he's performing better than Warren Buffett in the S&P 500. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you why. We had a functioning economy. In January of 2020. We had an economy, you can look, we had 3.6% unemployment. 3.6% unemployment. We had wage increases that were surprising economists. We had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. We had towards record lows in terms of unemployment for Black and Latino citizens. We were doing very well as a country. Okay? Then they tried to impeach him because he pressured Zelensky, which never really happened. It wasn't pressure. It's not, you don't need to pressure anyone or twist their arm to investigate Biden. Your corruption is there. And we knew while they were investigating, Politico confirmed eventually that the federal government was investigating Hunter Biden for very bizarre business dealings. So the federal government is actually still, quote unquote, investigating Biden. But we had an economy that went from 3.6% unemployment to toilet paper shortages. From 3.6% unemployment to toilet paper shortages. Okay? And then we pumped close to $10 trillion, over $5 trillion in fiscal stimulus, and over $3.3 trillion in terms of quantitative easing from the Federal Reserve. that created this era of moral hazard we see today, which is being incentivized to just play with the house's money. Imagine if you're playing roulette or, blackjack or craps, and you're just given money from the casino. Well, that's kind of what's taking place. The economy went from a good economy, a very good economy, to 22 million jobs lost. We haven't recovered 10 million jobs of the 22 million jobs. And the stock market is at record highs because corporate profits are at record highs. People were willing to pay more for goods and services because inflation had not hit, and they were forced to, they were basically grounded like a teenager would be, and they were forced to stay home and prevented from working. People want to live. And so Democrats and media gleefully tanked the economy last year, and they have the audacity, some of them, to blame Trump. The audacity after they gleefully tanked the economy. Like, gleefully tanked the economy. And you have a situation where we haven't rebounded. We will not completely rebound, and there will be a market crash. Eventually, there will be a market crash within the next year. I don't want it to happen, but unfortunately it will, because the corporate profits don't take into account all of these supply shortages, supply chain shortages, labor shortages, jobless claims increasing while you have labor shortages. The derivatives bubble that we have that caused Archegos, the hedge fund, to go under, where you can hide debt from, and I have an article, hopefully that'll be coming out very soon, in a really awesome publication, amazing publication. We have a bubble, an equities bubble that's fueled by free money, essentially created to get us out of a self-induced economic collapse. 160 million people are part of the U.S. labor force. The average age is about 42, 43. Okay? According to government data, go look at the CDC government data. You can look at it. 99.7% of the lives lost have been above the age of 49. 99.7%. Go look at the numbers. You can look at the numbers. I'm not making it up. And so, when they gleefully tanked the entire United States economy, they did so without any opposition. McConnell didn't oppose them. But I did block a debt ceiling bill. Now they're blocking the debt ceiling bill because now is their chance to... They are only opposing Democrats when it comes to, legislation in the Senate. Social media, algorithms, suppression of speech, any cultural issue. Generally, aside from what Trump implemented in terms of foreign policy, most foreign policy issues, they don't really, Major League Baseball moving the All-Star game from Georgia to Colorado. I mean, Republicans have capitulated investigating a Republican president. They have done everything possible to side with Democrats against Trump, to investigate Trump alongside Democrats. Then they complain that they lost Georgia and Arizona. It's like, you did this to yourselves. You spent 4 years blaming Trump, a Republican president. They did this. The people the people, Georgia Republicans and Arizona Republicans many of them, I shouldn't say all of them, but many of them, in addition to people like McCain and Paul Ryan, Richard Burr, and all of these, and Kinzinger and Cheney and Mitt Romney, and Nebraska senator that rhymes with a certain body part that will, that the algorithm doesn't like. So all of these people went after Trump, and it did the political party no good. But forget about the political party; it did the country no good. You're not giving a viewpoint and a different viewpoint. You're not giving an opposing a viewpoint. You're allowing Democrats to control the narrative on everything. And so Democrats in the media say, oh, Mitt Romney, oh, Kinzinger, oh, Cheney, oh, what a noble Republican. These people aren't doing it for any moral purpose. If backing Trump would enrich them or keep that or allow them to maintain their power within D.C., they'd have no problem. The neoconservative establishment base of the GOP views Trump to be the same existential dilemma that Democrats do. So that's why you have Mitt Romney and Cheney opposing. I guess you could say it's ideological, but it's more along the lines of they benefit politically. So you didn't have, like when it was Bush v. Gore, you didn't have Republicans saying, what's taking place in Florida is really, I side with Democrats. That never happened, ever. So now you have an issue with the debt ceiling because nobody really understands why the infrastructure bill is important, how it's going to help the country. Even Democrats aren't really for it, or a number of them. But here, the Senate Republicans blocked a Democratic bill that would both fund the government and raise the country's borrowing limit, escalating a political showdown over the government's finances just days before it runs out of money. Senate Democrats sought to pass a House-approved stopgap measure that funds the government through December 3rd, 2021, and suspends the debt limit through December 16, 2022. They are racing to send the legislation to President Biden's desk before the government's current funding expires at 12:01 a.m. October 1st. So this is like they're like a college student or a high school student writing a term paper at the last second. It's like, JG, hello. I wouldn't doubt it. JG, hello. I wouldn't doubt it. It's almost as if they wanted to ruin the entire country. Almost as if the experts and the authorities. And again, you had no opposition. The Republicans didn't oppose anything. Trump did, but everybody else, okay, well, we don't want to risk our neck to, God forbid, we actually show a spine and backbone and say Trump-Russia was completely fabricated. I mean, they derive political power and influence from, we have to investigate Trump. I mean, Mueller. It's like, none of that should ever have taken place. There should never have been a special counsel on intel. The confidence level, the high to moderate confidence level of intel operatives or agencies that were run by people who didn't like Trump, who had the utmost contempt and disdain for Trump and wanted him out of the Oval Office. And then they say, Trump, he tried to foment this, that's what they tried to do for 4 years. But they have the establishment and media. So when they do it, it's dignified and they do it in a bureaucratic manner. And they didn't even find that Trump had anything to do with January. FBI basically cleared him. Actually did clear him. Notice how they can't indict or charge Trump for anything. Notice that. They can't indict or charge Trump for anything. And so, we'll read this. Some Democrats sought to pass a House-approved stopgap measure Okay, so that funds the government through December 3rd, 2021, and suspends the debt limit through December 16, 2022. They are racing to send the legislation to President Biden's desk before the government's current funding expires at 12:01 a.m. October 1st. It's September 27, 2021. So, while lawmakers in both parties negotiated the short-term government funding, Republicans voted against Monday's procedural motion in a bid to force Democrats to address the debt limit themselves, with 48 in favor and 50 opposed. They have the Senate, by the way. This is hilarious. They have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency. Zero vision. Like, nobody knows why the infrastructure bill. You have all these left-leaning YouTubers. Not once have they spoken about, did they speak about the infrastructure bill? This is not something that the left really cares about. They care about Medicare for all and the Green New Deal and ending the filibuster and packing the Supreme Court, all the things that Democrats will never do, but pretend they'll do just to get votes. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has notified lawmakers that the government may be unable to keep paying its bills on time as early as next month if Congress doesn't authorize additional borrowing. You have made it, Democrats, media, the experts have made it so we added $4.5 trillion in 1 year. For what? And then this year also, oh my God, surge, oh my God, For what? How did it benefit us? How did cancer and heart disease ended the lives of more Americans? Why did they downplay cancer and heart disease? What did they obsessed over this, and they've run the country into the ground. And now people have confused actually living and being able to go places and to live life with a rebounding economy. That's two different things. To actually live, and like, God bless my viewers in Australia. I say this with all due respect, and I God bless Australia and the Australian people, my God. But like, because you don't live, because you're not living through the nightmare in Australia right now. So this is, you then say, oh, it's a rebounding economy. It's not a rebounding economy. Our economy is rebounding, quote unquote, only because it's allowed to function now. Oh, wow, so great. And then they said, well, this type of treatment will rebound the economy. It's like, yeah. So that has nothing to do with economics at all. Nothing. You prevented people from working for a year. Then people were allowed to live life normally again. You sanctioned that. The Republicans just went along for the ride. They just went along for the ride. They actually, the only people opposing the insanity was Trump and maybe Trump Republicans who really didn't have, for 4 years, even though President Trump was president, you didn't have any, there were very few loyalists in Congress. Everyone is a loyalist on the left. Everyone. They're like a mindless, zombie, blind allegiance to Nancy Pelosi. Even AOC, she's basically told how to vote. I think that, I'm obviously was against what the left-leaning Congress people were doing, because you're voting against a defensive measure. You're voting against a defensive military aid. It's actually purely defensive because you have organizations very similar to the Taliban and others that are sending missiles into civilian locations in a country that wants to defend its population from just missiles that they don't even know where they're going. And that's okay. But then and that's okay to Democrats or to the far left. And then they're the ones who pontificate about morality. But then you have AOC who votes present. And she even stated when she became a congresswoman, she really didn't know much about the issue. But it's like you have a situation where we did this to ourselves, and we've added a total of 5.3 trillion or so in fiscal stimulus. Why couldn't you have simply allowed the economy to function? And then for the age groups and the people who are most vulnerable. That's why when they say, cases up, and lives lost. Well, what age? Can you give me the health condition? What age? And by the way, why are they mitigating and downplaying and ignoring? And these are all the ways that they said, like Trump, when they wanted to paint Trump as unfeeling, or somebody who didn't realize what was going on, they would say, oh, he's mitigating. Why didn't they simply address or focus on heart disease and cancer that ended the lives of more people? They didn't because they couldn't derive any political utility from it. And they felt very good about themselves when the experts say it's too early to open up. It's too early, Trump. You can't force it because people's lives are at stake. Now you have people 680,000 seniors in this country, who can't pay who are 1 month behind in their mortgage. I just read that yesterday. You have people who are living paycheck by paycheck, and by the way, the stimulus payments and the government and state stimulus and unemployment's running out. And you have a job market that's completely messed up. The reason there's a labor shortage is because you have jobs that are no longer there anymore that these people had. People worked at restaurants, they worked at offices, they worked in, movie theaters, they worked. It's like all of these places now either don't exist or are under new management, or, for one reason or another, they've had to downsize. I mean, we did this to ourselves. By the way, terrible story. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller has been jailed. And that's terrible. And that's what happens when you speak truth. When you really speak truth to power, it's not AOC crying over a vote that she didn't even care about to begin with. And she's just doing it for public relations. She actually on the left, it was like the worst thing that you could have done. So she did it right after Pelosi spoke to her. But this man actually spoke truth to power, and Marine officer who went viral blasting military leaders over Afghanistan is jailed. This is a man who was 100% right. And so, wait a second. You can have whistleblowers who are against Trump and they're championed and oh my God, they're given the best treatment. But this man is going to be jailed. And I understand maybe he was an active duty soldier and but look how media, example number 5,578. Charmaine, thank you so very, very much. Charmaine, thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you. Thank you, Charmaine. I agree with you. Hyperinflation is coming. Charmaine, thank you. I agree with you. And then they say, oh, inflation is transitory. Oh, inflation is transitory. Completely transitory. That's just because people, the shortages we have, those bottlenecks. That's just because, the economy is really moving. It's like, well, the Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index and the Baltic Dry Shipping Index and the container shipping rates from here to China, and everything is increasing in cost. Everything. Consumer sentiment is at a low not seen since 2008. All the economic indicators are at a high not seen since 2008, aside from GDP, where you have GDP being revised downward, and the only reason it's up at like 5 or 6% is because the country is allowed to work now. Wow. So great. So everything is skewed. It's like every single thing is not what it seems. They put a Band-Aid on a self-inflicted wound that needs a lot more than a Band-Aid. They ended society for a year. That should never have been on the table. It should never, and you didn't get any, like, they did it gleefully. They did it with enthusiasm. And they're still acting the same manner. The only good thing about a major stock crash, which unfortunately will lose a lot of money for people, I'm not saying that I want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. It's going to happen, unfortunately. But the only good thing, if there's a good thing, is that people will have to realize that, maybe the experts and the authorities and the government don't know anything about anything. Maybe they're making things up all the time. Maybe their main goal is just to attain power and influence over the lives of everybody. With sometimes the, a concern that happens to correlate with that would be the welfare of people. Mainly, what they want to do is exert their authority. You respect my authority. So, it'll come back to normal. Oh, it'll come back to normal. It's like this is you. It's like we give people this. That you voted. People didn't like Trump's personality, and they voted for a different personality. They didn't realize what they were getting. And also, I will say this. I understand the pressure he was under, but President Trump should never, ever have pushed to stop the U.S. economy or prevent it for the first month or 2 months. He should never have done that, ever. Just like, when you give people within government, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And so he unfortunately succumbed to the pressure. But you have an issue, ladies and gentlemen, where we've spent so much. We added $4.5 trillion just in 1 year. Just in 1 year. For what purpose? For what purpose? And they were, it's like they were upset with Trump they were like, oh, deficits. Look at the deficit. And they were upset with him for the tax cuts, but that spurred economic growth. And I agree with you, Eric, he should have. See, this is the thing. He should never have given, you're wrong, Dr. Rand, such a platform. He should have realized that he was getting, like Trump got played. He got played, unfortunately, last year. All of last year, he got played. They set so many traps for him. My God. He got played. They set so many traps for him. And you look at it in hindsight. But, I mean, media is powerful, unfortunately. Not for people like you and me, but for half the country that they believe anything. It's interesting. They never ask, wow, media is always backing our biases on everything. The Democrats never say, well, isn't it interesting that everything that's being reported backs our viewpoint on politics? They actually say, you see, we have to be right. I mean, everything that's being reported backs our viewpoint on politics. He should never have had weekly meetings with, you're wrong, Dr. Rand. He should never, ever have done that. Trump inadvertently gave this man so much political power. It's unbelievable. And anyway, I understand it was noble of what Trump was trying to do, but at the same time, he was never given credit for anything. They gave Andrew Cuomo an Emmy. I mean, that's all you have to know. And I agree with you on that, too. But ladies and gentlemen, we will end in a couple of minutes. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty unbelievable. It is pretty unbelievable that it's pretty unbelievable that you have no opposition viewpoint. Just no opposition viewpoint. You know? It's really unbelievable. There's one narrative, media narrative. It's bolstered by MSNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, Twitter, Facebook, social media algorithms, the Senate, the House, the presidency, all of Hollywood, like I said, Major League Baseball even. It's like Democrats, they don't exist as a political party without every possible advantage propping Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert. I mean, these are like rabid propagandists. They're rabid. They just obsess over politics. It's not even comedy anymore. It's like they pretty much work for the DNC. And if Democrats didn't have every conceivable advantage, where would they be? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much. We did a somewhat short one this late evening, but yeah, I mean, they will pass a bill to raise the debt ceiling. They'll do so. But Charmaine, thank you so very much. Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. They'll pass a bill to raise the debt ceiling, but at the same time, we are heading towards a devastating stock market crash. I suggest everybody here, every month, save money every single month for a rainy day, because I believe the rainy day is coming yet again. Because Biden's administration has no vision at all, just absolutely no vision. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless. Have a great, great evening. I will see you tomorrow. I will try to do an upload on this channel. I will do an upload on the Stock Market Crash channel. Eric, Luke, thank you. Charmaine, thank you so very much. Roger Rabbit, hello. Wingless, hello. JG, hello. And thank you, Joey. Everybody here, God bless. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Tell your friends about